Next on Newsmax Prime, defining the deal. Dick Cheney blasts the Iran agreement over the weekend, saying the world may see actual use of the first nuclear bomb since Nagasaki. Eric Javits and Betsy McCaughey react. Then Dr. Ben's on the rise, Hillary's in a free fall, and Jeb advocates a virtual fence. Our political panels will discuss. Plus, President Obama in Alaska, changing the name of a natural wonder and insisting our 49th state is basically ground zero for climate change. Don't change the channel. Newsmax Prime starts now. Good evening. Welcome to the Monday night edition of Newsmax Prime. I'm J.D. Hayworth. Of prime interest tonight, inching toward infamy, President Obama nears veto-proof support for his proposed deal with Iran, and some former diplomats have weighed in along party lines. Meantime, former Vice President Dick Cheney is anything but diplomatic, spelling out in very stark terms what he believes will happen if this agreement is okayed. Miranda Kahn has more from our Newsmax Prime newsroom. Miranda?
JD, political heavyweights from both sides of the aisle weighed in on the deal this weekend, with former Secretary of State Madeleine Albright calling the nuclear agreement a win-win. On the complete opposite end of the spectrum, former Vice President Dick Cheney, who says the deal will lead to the first use of nuclear weapons in 70 years.
Nobody is presenting an alternative that would, in fact, limit the way that Iran can develop a nuclear program. This does put a stop to three paths to a nuclear program: plutonium, enriched uranium, and covertly. So I think it's a good plan. I think it needs to be backed, but it also offers a path on diplomacy that will deal with some of Iran's other behavior that is of concern to people.
Meanwhile, Cheney pulled no punches in the Wall Street Journal this weekend. In an op-ed and excerpts from his upcoming book, he, along with his daughter Liz, accused the president of lying. He says, quote, "Nearly everything the president has told us about his Iranian agreement is false. He has said it will prevent the Iranians from acquiring nuclear weapons, but it will actually facilitate and legitimize an Iranian nuclear arsenal. The Obama agreement will lead to a nuclear-armed Iran, a nuclear arms race in the Middle East, and more than likely the first use of a nuclear weapon since Hiroshima and Nagasaki." Strong words indeed. Now retired General Paul Vallely was on our program last Thursday. During that time, he shared some ominous news, saying all of this is for naught because Iran already has the capacity to build a nuclear weapon.
They have the launch systems, they have the guidance control system, they have the detonation system, they have the warhead. And guess what? Russia and North Korea has tested everything for them. All they have to do is put it together, JD, like a tinker toy. And that's why they have the nuclear capability now. And this agreement is really a moot point.
Right now, 13 Senate Democrats have yet to announce their position on the deal. And as it stands, President Obama now needs only 3 of them to sustain a likely veto of legislation aimed at killing the deal. This, of course, barring any unexpected defections. A lot of eyes on this deal, and we will keep you posted on any further developments. JD?
Thanks, Miranda. For more on this story, we're pleased to be joined by Ambassador Eric Javits. He is Skyping in from Sweden, and he's the former U.S. representative to the Conference on Disarmament. And Skyping in from New York City, the former Lieutenant Governor of the state of New York, Betsy McCaughey. To you both, thanks for your time here on Newsmax Prime. Ambassador, it is very curious when politics and diplomacy mix. For example, the case of Senator Merkley up on Capitol Hill. He says he's going to vote for the deal. Then he went on to list the shortcomings in detail, yet he rejected a proposal from his colleagues in the Senate to oppose the deal, to say, hang on, let's say no and then try to renegotiate for better terms. If this is such a bad deal, why are so many Democratic senators willing to vote for it?
Well, again, it's politics. You said mixing politics, and politics is dictating this deal, frankly, because it's a terrible deal. It's the poison pill. We were told, and frankly, we've been lied to, that the whole purpose of dealing with Iran in a negotiation is to make sure they never get the nuclear weapon. And this ensures they get the nuclear weapon. It's only a question of 15 years, or actually like 2 weeks, because they're not going to lay aside all the things that they've been doing for 30 years, which has been cheating the IAEA and the free world about their activities. They've never really declared or allowed intrusive inspections. And under this agreement, they won't have to even allow an American into their in the inspection process. And as far as the inspection process goes, they will have up to 2 months if they protest and say that it's unwarranted. And unless the special committee that's in charge of authorizing the intrusive inspections gives them all the intelligence data that has been collected as to why there should be an inspection, they won't budge.
Well, let's cut to the chase here. The fact is, the president has lied about this deal, but he's not the only liar. These 13 senators who are holding out, they are liars. They are political weasels. Richard Blumenthal from Connecticut, probably the worst of all of them, posing as someone who is undecided and studying the deal. He's not studying the deal. He's ducking the deal. He's dodging. He's running out the clock. This deal is 159 pages. He's had 6 weeks. And right on page 1, there's a big lie where it says Iran never has and never will have the capabilities for a nuclear weapon. That is a lie. It is pure fiction. And anybody who signs that deal is willing to go along with that lie. But I can't believe that the American people are standing by and letting these 13 senators pose as senatorial, deliberative, when in fact they're mere political weasels avoiding responsibility.
And here are the terms, according to Dick Cheney. We heard in the report from Miranda, the former vice president writing an op-ed piece saying we may see nuclear weapons used for the first time since Nagasaki. Eric, do you agree with that assessment?
Well, you're dealing with the terrorist state of Iran that has vowed to destroy a member of the United Nations and eradicate it from the face of the earth. And they're still saying that. And everything they've signed before, they have not ratified, as witness the documents in 1971, the documents in 1974.
And let me point out,
they're not going to sign. They're not. Although they'll sign this, they're not going to ratify it. They're not going to send it to their legislature. They're not going to consider it anything more than a convenience, as long as it serves them. And then they can just walk away from it. It's a meaningless document, which is totally in their favor, and allowing them to, under the blessing of legitimacy, go ahead and make the nuclear weapon and do it as soon as they want to, actually.
Betsy, let me bring it back home here. Another political angle. A coalition of 3 anti-Iran agreement groups, including the Tea Party, are going to team up with Donald Trump and Senator Ted Cruz to host a rally September 9th on Capitol Hill as the members come back from Labor Day recess. Will that have an impact?
Yes, rallies are good, but the American people should be calling their own senators. For example, Richard Blumenthal in Connecticut, one of these holdouts, held a press conference today on getting a woman's picture on the $20 bill by 2020. People ought to be asking him, how many Americans are going to be killed by Iranian-purchased weapons once the Iranians have that $150 billion in cash or near-cash assets that Obama is ready to release when he lifts sanctions? That's what they should be asking, never mind having a rally. These senators are lying to the American people. Blumenthal, Cardin, Booker, they are lying to the American people, trying to duck making a decision.
And we will have to end it right there. Betsy McCaughey, Eric Javits, we thank you. Still to come, neck and neck, Dr. Ben Carson pulls into a dead heat with Donald Trump in Iowa. John Zogby and Craig Shirley weigh in on what that means in the race. And we just heard the political side of the Iran nuclear deal. Later, we'll be joined by 2 men who shared their very personal reasons for opposing the agreement. But first, is China really to blame for our recent economic woes? Financial commentator Jim Rogers joins us from Singapore as Newsmax Prime continues.